Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Vaughn's Views. Today, we'll be talking about a subject that can sometimes get you a little stressed. Money. Let's talk about it. This subject has actually come up quite a lot in my personal life recently. People have been asking me questions from things from interest rates to just different personal finance kind of questions. And so I kind of wanted to get all of my thoughts kind of in order and out there, just because there is a lot of information surrounding it. I definitely have an opinion on it, and that's what this show is for. Before we dive into it, though, guys, again, I did want to first thank you for listening. If you make it to the end of this one, you're probably a trooper or a super nerd like me. So appreciate you listening for sure. Definitely leave a like, share this one out, guys. Subscribe, download all the episodes, and my Monday show will be back online this Monday. I cannot wait for you guys to hear it. It's a big one. I've got some of my best friends coming to record and talk about our experience in Orlando at a wonderful thing that we did down there. But anyway, enough of that, into kind of what I wanted to talk about today. So personal finance. Personal finance is one of those things that can get kind of scary and really muddled. But I did want to start with some numbers that are kind of staggering. So we'll start with the fact that America, the United States of America, is $3.9 trillion in consumer debt. Now that does not include mortgages, HELOCs, things like that. That is consumer debt. So credit cards, auto loans, stuff like that. The average household, how that breaks down, the average household that carries a form of consumer debt is on average in about $9,500 in debt. Now, I also broke that down into kind of our more local area. Arkansas ranks 37th out of 50 when it comes to average household debt. Now, this is debt per household, not debt per household that carries debt. So it breaks it down kind of funny in that way. But Arkansas ranks 37th at $6,747 per household. And Jonesboro, our local area that does participate in these kinds of statistics, you're looking at about $4,575 per household, again, in consumer debt. Now, some of the bigger numbers we'll get into a little bit later: student loans, auto loans, credit card numbers, things like that, kind of breaking it down. But first, I kind of want to get the idea out there that I really, love personal finance information. Like, I intake it a lot on YouTube. I intake that content regularly, but I do it from a lot of different sources. But my two main focuses that I kind of want to talk about are Dave Ramsey, A, and Robert Kiyosaki, B. I have read both of their books. I have listened to both of their podcasts. I have intake both of their YouTube channel content, all different kinds of stuff. Now, they have very differing opinions on a lot of things, mainly revolving around debt and credit. But I want to kind of go over how important it is to intake information from a variety of sources, and how important it is to, first of all, just be knowledgeable about this kind of stuff. So you don't have to necessarily know the difference right now between a Roth 401k and a 401k, or where the term Roth came from, or what an IRA is, or any of that stuff, unless you're in a very specific stage in your personal finance journey. Really most people, I think, and what I've found, are in the very early stages of a long process, and that is perfectly fine. I am too. I'm 22 years old, and so if you've made it this far, you may even be thinking, what does this kid know about personal finance? I know enough to get by, that's for sure. So breaking down kind of Dave Ramsey's point of view, and a lot of his stuff I do agree with, really right up into the end. So Dave Ramsey teaches a 7 baby step program, and that program is designed to get you out of debt. It is proven to be very successful. It's known as the debt snowball. Feel free to look it up. And when it comes to debt reduction, there are really two major ideologies. There is Dave Ramsey's, which is the debt snowball, and then there is this other called the debt avalanche. And they have to do with how you structure your get out of debt plan. Anyway, but the debt snowball is all about putting your debts in order from smallest to largest. That's all of your debts except for your mortgage. So any credit cards, any auto loans, any debts that you may owe to a friend or family member, anything at all, put it on a sheet of paper, smallest to largest, and then knock it out from smallest to largest, whatever. But his first baby step is something I think is so incredibly important. Before you ever start any kind of journey into paying off debt or going on your personal finance journey, it's save $1,000. As I was talking to some of my friends about this and talking to some coworkers and talking with some mentors and people in my life, I found it kind of staggering the percentage of people that say that if an emergency happened that was $1,000 or less, could you pay for it? And a lot of them, the answer was no. $1,000 seems like an incredibly large number to a lot of people, and it's just not. $1,000 doesn't really get you a long way, but this first baby step of Dave Ramsey's isn't supposed to. Dave Ramsey's plan, his 7 baby step plan, is all about momentum. It's all about inspiration versus information. So I can tell you, and he could tell you, or Robert Kiyosaki could tell you, or all of these different financial gurus could tell you all of the information that you could ever want. But if you don't do anything with it, it's useless. So his plan is all about inspiration as opposed to information. While you need the information, without the inspiration, it is absolutely worthless. So that's what that first baby step is there for. It's just for you to prove to yourself that you have the capability of choosing what to do with your life. Money is one of those things where a lot of people have deemed it as evil or a necessary evil or something along the lines of anything other than a tool. And there are people out there that obviously think it's inherently good, but neither of those people are correct. Money is nothing except a tool. It can be used for good, and it can be used for evil. In both of those situations, the money itself is not inherently either of those things. The people that own that tool are using it for those things. And so the first thing that you really have to understand is that money is not evil. Rich people aren't evil just because they have money. Now, when it comes to you specifically in your personal finance journey, number 2, you have to understand that your journey will look different from everyone else's around you. It's not going to look the same as mine. It's not going to look the same as all of your coworkers. It's not going to look the same as your bosses, etc. And it's because you all have, and we all have, different situations surrounding us. But we can all come together in this journey of personal finance and started in the same place of just deciding that we are in control of our money. Our money is not in control of us, no matter how much it may feel like that sometimes. So, if you get nothing else out of this entire podcast, that's what I kind of charge you to do, is to save $1,000 and just see how it feels. Because it will change the way that you view your life. As soon as you have $1,000 sitting in the bank, in a savings account, or in an envelope in your house, or in a safe somewhere, in liquid cash, as soon as you have $1,000 that you can touch, your worldview changes. And it's so insane when you think of how small an amount of money that is, but I promise you, as soon as you have $1,000, as soon as you see a comma sitting safely somewhere, the rest of that process becomes incredibly easier, no matter how much debt you may have. So step 2 for Dave Ramsey is the debt snowball. It is, like I said earlier, listing your debts from smallest to largest. regardless of interest rate. Your interest rate does not matter in this plan. If interest rates mattered to you, you wouldn't have credit card debt to begin with. That's the idea behind the avalanche plan. The debt avalanche plan is list them from largest interest rate to smallest because the math makes sense. You end up getting out of debt generally 2 to 4 months sooner. It's really not even that much time saved. But the problem is that most people that start the debt avalanche plan never finish. And it's because they get disheartened most of the time. Whereas with the debt snowball plan, because you start with the smallest debt, you may have a $200 credit card debt that's just been sitting, or a $200 medical debt that has just been sitting and just staring over you. Pay it off. And then you use that payment that you have been using to roll into the next payment and on down and on down and on down the hill until your snowball gets so large you're knocking out debts. So after that, he moves into step 3, and step 3 is all about an emergency fund. And his philosophy kind of continues on from there, paying off your mortgage early, investing, giving, that kind of thing. Dave Ramsey's philosophy ultimately, though, is zero debt ever. He is famous for saying that he won't get mad at you if you get a 15-year fixed rate mortgage that is where the payment is no more than 25% of your income. But he is a zero debt guy. So no car payment, no credit card payments, no mortgage payment, no nothing. And that concept may seem incredibly foreign to a lot of people living without payments, except, of course, living expenses like utilities and things like that, food, obviously. But having no debt to speak of is an idea that a lot of people just don't understand and can't even grasp because it seems so foreign to most people. And I charge you to really do some digging and some research for yourself on this. There are a lot of people out there, wealthy people and, what most would deem middle class people, that don't live buried in debt. And that comes from a mindset shift that has to happen within yourself. So you have to understand and kind of define for yourself what the term rich means first, and stop being mad at those people that you think are rich. So be rich for yourself. So what could that mean for you? A positive net worth, for example, would be a great place to start. And that's easy to come up with. Get your assets versus your liabilities, come up with a number, and that is your net worth. For most people in America, that is a negative number, and it's because of debt. For example, the auto loan industry is a thriving industry in America at $1.28 trillion in auto loan debt. Now, that number may sound large, but why aren't we talking about that number like we're talking about the student loan debt number? Only recently has the student loan number really encased and engulfed the auto loan number, and the student loan number is one that we talk about so much more. And I can understand why, because it's wrapped around education and it's not wrapped around what most people deem as an asset, even though vehicles just inherently are not assets. Assets are things that are making you money. That's neither here nor there. That's another podcast episode altogether. But $1.28 trillion in auto loan debt. That is insane. And it's people most of the time that are buying cars that they can't afford to impress people that they don't like. And that kind of stems into all aspects of consumer debt. You're buying things that you can't afford to impress people that you don't like. No. Bad plan. Bad plan. So Robert Kiyosaki on the other end of this is all about using other people's money to your benefit, paying the fees, and for things like, credit cards are a good example where the two financial gurus differ. Dave Ramsey is of a zero debt policy. Robert is more of, you can have a credit card or two as long as you pay them off at the end of every month and you use the points and the reward systems the way that you're supposed to. And Dave is very much like, you're just simply not strong enough to do that. That's how you're in this mess in the first place. And somewhere in the middle, I think, is the truth. And it's really a matter of you. Again, personal finance is a personal individual journey. And so you have to decide on the front end what's going to work for you. But the deal is that you have to decide. Adults devise a plan and stick to it. Children do what feels good. And so it's time to take advantage of the resources that are at your fingertips. And it's time to sit down, look at your situation in the face with your significant other if you have one, because you cannot, if you're married or in a union, win on your own. It's just not possible. Statistically, it's impossible. It is the number one cause of divorce in America. It's the number one cause of fights in relationships, money, disagreements over money. And so get together with your significant other, sit down and stare that demon in the face. I can promise you that it's not as bad as you think it is, first of all. And as soon as you sit down and look at it, get a budget together. That's step one. Get a budget together, figure out how you're going to save $1,000, and then go from there. Now, again, I have done a lot of research into a lot of this stuff. And I think in the coming Vaughn's Views episodes, I will be going more into detail on different personal finance aspects, such as cutting costs and how to do that effectively. For example, a lot of people think that cutting the latte out of your day is how you are miraculously going to fix your budget and you fix your spending, and that's how you're going to get out of debt, is cutting your $5 a day latte. And that's just not it. Why would you cut the one thing in the morning that kind of sets your day off in a happy note? And that's a terrible decision. Don't do that. $5 a day isn't even that much when it comes down to the amount of money that you're spending. And most people don't even do $5 a day. It's $5 every other day or $5 once every 3 days. And so the latte problem is not the problem we're trying to fix. It's the fact that you have no control over yourself. It is the man or woman in the mirror that is causing these issues, and you have to confront them, not the latte. So yeah, things like that we'll be going over in the coming episodes of this Wednesday edition of the show. I just kind of wanted to go over some broad stroke things. And again, if you leave with anything, leave with this. After you listen to this, get with your partner. And if you don't have a life partner or a spouse or whatever, then find an accountability partner and sit down, look at your situation, devise a plan, and follow it. And the first thing I want you to do is save $1,000. If that means you have to sell things, that is fine. If that means you have to cut here or cut there, that is fine. You figure it out. If you have problems or if you have questions and you're listening to this, you probably even know how to get a hold of me. And if that's the case and you want advice or want help on a personal level, holler at me. Cool. I am so open and awesome to do that. I think it is awesome, that I would love to do that. You know, Hannah and I have had this conversation amongst ourselves, and we're on the same page. And it is so vitally important that you and your significant other are, or you are with yourself. So anyway, that was a lot. But really, when it comes to my actual personal take on personal finance, I don't necessarily believe in consumer debt. I think that for the most part, people aren't responsible enough, and this is myself included to an extent, to use consumer debt effectively. Now, when it comes to things like real estate and leverage and all of that stuff, I feel that is under a different umbrella and under a different category, and that is something that I will be talking about in the future. But for me, personally, the number one thing that you can do to make your life better is get out of consumer debt. For the Christians out there, the Bible says that the borrower is slave to the lender. It does not smile on debt of any kind. For those who aren't or don't necessarily believe in the Bible, it just simply doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to watch your check come in and then go out every month. But the deal is that you're responsible for that, and until you take ownership of the problem, you are not going to fix it. You're going to be stuck forever. You don't have to be. The important thing, though, is, again, to take ownership. So like I said earlier, sit down with your spouse, sit down with somebody, text me. I would love to be a part of your journey and go over this and stare the demon in the face. Now, the books from the authors that I was talking about earlier are The Total Money Makeover and Rich Dad Poor Dad. I would highly recommend both of those books. If you do not have a copy or can't afford a copy, holler at me. I still have mine. I give out books fairly regularly. The first guest that I had on my Monday edition show left my house with one. So anyway, find those books. Read those books. If you want the books and just need to get a hold of them, holler at me. I will do what I can to get you that information, okay? But if you've made it this far, for real, I appreciate it. This was one of the longer ones. I know that, and I thank you so much for listening. And it wasn't necessarily an easy listen either. You kind of had to stare yourself in the face a little bit. And in the next few episodes, we're going to be diving into certain aspects of this that I'm really excited about, and I look forward to it. So yeah, leave a like, guys. Please share, download, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, because that is so important. That's more important than all of the other stuff put together. But yeah, guys, thank you for listening so much. This has been another episode of Vaughn's Views, and I will see you next week. Bye.